Hello, good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another Lead Today series. It's been a wonderful time these last 3 months. We have considered some very topical issues as it relates to leadership. And our Lead Today series have been a very wonderful material. You may need to know again that Lead Today was developed by OneHope in conjunction with John C. Maxwell. And it has actually helped young people and leaders like you tremendously to understand the concept of leadership. In the last 3 months, we have looked at some topical issues which I would like to recap, but permit me to say a very big thank you to Daniel Anosi that handled the subject on timing 2 weeks ago. He did quite a great job. I commend you for the great job you did. And the rest of the other facilitators, you have also done very well. You are the reason OneHope is existing today. Thank you for being part of our success story. My name is Uche Okoro. And for the next 30 minutes, I'll be facilitating on a very important subject titled Teamwork as Unit 8 of our lesson today. We started the series with influence, and we agreed that leadership is influence. And we also came to this understanding that leadership or influence is the ability to persuade people to work together for a greater goal. And you will agree with me that that is the first step of becoming a great leader. You must be a young boy, a young girl, a man or a woman of influence. That took us to this next lesson, which is vision. It takes a person of influence to have a great vision. And vision is a goal. Vision is inspiration. Vision is idea that guides your life. Anyone who doesn't have what it takes to persuade others will not have what it takes to guide others. So vision has a very common relationship with influence. We also considered the third unit, which is integrity. It takes a man of vision to be considered a man of integrity. Integrity simply means living in a way that matches your action. And when you are a man of integrity, your vision becomes sellable. So integrity is a core engine room of driving our future. The next unit we considered was growth, and we agreed that growth is a steady process of becoming who and what you aim to be. If your integrity cannot keep you, then it will be difficult for you to grow. Growth is consistent. Growth is the life that you live. When a young person is not growing, it means the person is dying. Growth is synonymous to the breath that runs in your system on a daily basis. Every young person must look forward to grow and become very great in future. We consider the next unit as initiative, seeing something that needs to be done and having the courage to start. It is only when you have grown in your influence that you take initiatives. Initiatives gives you an edge over others. It helps you to cover your constituencies very well when you are leading others by your ideas and initiative. When this is fully taking place in you, The next subject helps you to understand that self-discipline is an outshoot of your integrity and growth. And we said that self-discipline is the ability to control your feelings and your actions. A grown man, a grown woman, a grown boy, or a grown girl must understand that this is one of the life principles that keeps you going in life. And finally, 2 weeks ago, we looked at the concept of timing, knowing when to act or when to step up and lead. And John C. Maxwell said something very, very important. He says, when the right leader and the right moment come together, incredible things happen. Timing is an essential commodity that is required in every endeavor in life. Anyone who misses the understanding of timing will miss so much in life. And so we are going to look at just a few things that we did in our last lesson that may really help you to keep timing as part of your life principle. A life work was given to us, and something very important to consider in our life work was for us to see an opportunity to be a leader somewhere, and we are asked to write a plan or a timeline what we should do. And after the lesson, I took my pen, I put down some things, and I was determined to get those things done, which I have kick-started already. And what was my plan? My plan was to raise 50 young men in my neighborhood to be committed in cleaning the waterways and drainage system for a floodless rainy season between now and September 5th, 2020. This will be their voluntary commitment to the community. As I speak to you, I have comfortably been able to raise 19 out of the 50 young men. And I'm working so hard to see that in the coming days, we are going to be 50 in number, helping our community to be free of flood. And today, we are going to look at two key important questions in our lesson. But before we consider that, I want to define teamwork to you. What is teamwork? It is the collaborative effort of a group to achieve a common goal or to complete a task in the most effective and efficient way. It can never be teamwork until it is collaborative. It can never be teamwork if it is not a group activity. There is no way we can achieve a very efficient common goal if we are not working together. Now permit me to give you this quote. The finger will never produce a sound, not until both are jammed together. You can try it out. Try to jam the opposite fingers, each of them together, and you discover that the sound it produces will be very minute until all the fingers come together. And you will also agree with me that it is also the agreement of the cement, the granite, the iron, the sand that produce the living room or living homes you have today. There must be an understanding. One of the places in the scripture in Amos chapter 3 verse 3 says, two cannot work together except there is an agreement. John C. Maxwell has this quote: individual play the game, teams win the champion. That is to tell you how important it is for us to collaborate and work together. Teamwork brings easy assessment to everything we do in life. When we work together as a team, the work becomes lighter and easier. I can assure you that in my little domain, I have inculcated this idea into my kids, that for every job given to each of them to do, they have a way of collaborating with one another so that the job becomes simpler and easier to be done. And so I'm employing you today to understand that working together bring about the best in us. What are the two key questions I would like us to take care of in this lesson? Number one, why do good leaders spend time developing a team? Number two, why should potential leaders serve others? We are going to understand this lesson better as we consider the life of a man who lived out teamwork. And that man is called Nehemiah. We'll be reading the book of Nehemiah chapter 2, and I'll be reading from verse 2 to where I would like to stop. It's a story that have made so much impact in my life. We are going to see how Nehemiah organizes people around a passion. Nehemiah's stories begins after a Babylonian king exiled the Israelite people from their homeland of Jerusalem. Later, Nehemiah became a trusted servant to another king, the king of Persia. When Nehemiah learned that Jerusalem had been in ruins a long time, he was overcome with sadness. He prayed to God for help. The king noticed and spoke to Nehemiah. Why are you looking so sad? You don't look sick to me. You must be deeply troubled. Then I was terrified, but I replied, long live the king. How can I not be sad? For the city where my ancestors are buried is in ruins, and the gates have been destroyed by fire. The king asked, well, now, how can I be of a help to you? With a prayer to the God of heaven, I replied, if it pleases the king, and if you are pleased with me, your servant, send me to Judah to rebuild the city where my ancestors are buried. The king with the queen sitting beside him asked, how long will you be gone? When will you return? After I told him how long I would be gone, the king agreed to my request because the gracious hand of God was on me. So I arrived in Jerusalem. The city officials did not know I had been out there or what I was doing, for I had not yet said anything to anyone about my plans. But now I said to them, you know very well what trouble we are in. Jerusalem lies in ruins, and its gates have been destroyed by fire. Let us rebuild the wall of Jerusalem and end this disgrace. Then I told them about how the gracious hand of God had been on me and about my conversation with the king. They replied at once, yes, let's rebuild the wall. So they began the good work. Nehemiah looked at the people around him and directed the rebuilding process. He assigned each family a different task that they could complete. He challenged and encouraged them, working together under Nehemiah's organized leadership. The people were motivated. At last, the wall was completed to half its height around the entire city, for the people had worked with enthusiasm. But then the enemies of Jerusalem mocked and threatened Nehemiah and the workers. So I placed armed guards behind the lowest parts of the wall in the exposed area. I stationed the people to stand guard by families, armed with sword, spears, and bows. Then I looked over the situation. I called together the nobles and the rest of the people and said to them, "Don't be afraid of the enemy. Remember the Lord, who is great and gracious, and fight for your brothers, your sons, your daughters, your wives, and your homes." So the wall was finished just 52 days after he had begun to rebuild the wall. From the place we finished reading, we are going to look at the phrases that shows Nehemiah's challenges. 1, his city was in ruins. There was a big catastrophe in his homeland, Jerusalem. Number 2, one of the greatest challenges he had was how to communicate this challenge to the king. And so Nehemiah was sad. And you must not serve in the king's court looking sad. King came in contact with Nehemiah and saw his look was not a product of the kingdom. And he asked him, what was the problem? The Bible said that Nehemiah was terrified because it's one of those difficult questions to answer as a young person. When you come in contact with people who you fear so much, you feel like I am not qualified to talk to them. How do you comport yourself? How do you put yourself together to get an alliance with them? Nehemiah found himself in that shoe, and he was very terrified. Number 3, it's not only that the city of Jerusalem was in ruin, the gates were destroyed by fire. Nehemiah had a very great challenge. But in these phrases, we could also see God's hand upon him. Let's look at the phrases that qualifies God's presence in Nehemiah's situation. Number 1, he found favor before the king. Number 2, he found favor before God. Number 3, Nehemiah found favor before the city officials. Number 4, Nehemiah found favor before the people of Jerusalem. Everyone was ready to work with him. And number 5, while Nehemiah was traveling to Jerusalem, the king assigned some people to go with him, and that includes armed guards. They went with him and they helped him in securing the city of Jerusalem. And all of this indicates God in action in the case of Nehemiah. But can we also discover teamwork in what played out as Nehemiah was going back to Jerusalem to fix Jerusalem? Number 1, Nehemiah, after remembering the situation of Jerusalem, had an understanding with his boss, the king. He communicated effectively. It was a product of teamwork. He found favor before the king. Number 2, He encouraged the elders to join him so that they can rebuild the country. That is another product of teamwork. Nehemiah, for no just cause, couldn't have been able to do it alone. So he carried his people along. Number 3, the elders replied at once, "Yes, let's go." That is the expression of teamwork. Nehemiah assigned each family a task to do. That is leadership and teamwork. Every family, according to their ability, had something to do. Wherever you belong, whatever be your strength, there is something you can always do to produce results as a team. The wall we have finished in 1 month and 3 weeks, 52 days. It is a product of teamwork. Nehemiah wouldn't have been able to build the wall alone. His collaboration with others made it work. It can never be a teamwork until others are involved. How do you get others going when things are tough? Motivation. Every team will always look forward to a time they will be celebrated. But listen very carefully. Celebration will not come until motivation comes. And when motivation comes in the right direction, certainly someone will be celebrated. Now, permit me to go deeper than what I have been explaining before now, to give you some key example about Nehemiah. Nehemiah was a great example of someone who was able to get a large group of people to work together and rebuild the wall of Jerusalem. After Nehemiah was given a vision to rebuild the wall in his home city, the first thing he did was to pray and ask God what to do. Every vision that is not directed towards God certainly will fail. When you have your vision forming an alliance with God, you will actually triumph over pressure and challenges of life. God affirmed Nehemiah's vision. No wonder he came out very victorious. Today, Nehemiah had become a legend, a living example. Every one of us want to draw an inspiration from Nehemiah because he took the right step at the right time. I'm sure you still could remember our last lesson on timing. That timing is all about knowing when to act in a given situation. Nehemiah acted appropriately, and that produced a very great result among the Israelites. There are some few questions I'm going to ask, but at the same time produce answers to them. What made Nehemiah the type of leader that people wanted to work with? In my own answer, I would say that Nehemiah was mindful of his people. He was passionate about the land of Jerusalem and needed Jerusalem to come back to its or her original state. How do you respond when the work you are doing with a team faces trouble or opposition? Of course, there is no other way to have it done than to encourage the team members. When we are faced with opposition, one thing that can keep us going is encouragement. What makes you want to keep going and working? And that is to produce results and effectiveness. Everyone that is seeing results in what he or she is doing would always want to do more. No wonder Nehemiah didn't give up in his task after the approval from the king. Why do you think Nehemiah took personal responsibility for rebuilding the wall? He was a good leader and He knows too well that his family are equally in Jerusalem. He knows very well where he came from, and he needed to make his people happy. What kind of things make you want to gather a team to make a difference? Life challenges could have you bring people together to pursue a common goal. Like Nehemiah, share why you think God has placed you where you are right now, and the vision he has given to you to do something good for people in your community. When you lead a team, their loyalty to you and the cause of increase, and they will work hard to help you achieve a greater result. As a leader, you are placed among people to give them direction, to become a team player. One of the reasons why most of us fail in our plans and projection is simple. Many of us have refused to be leaders, and we are bosses. When you are a boss, the spirit of leading will be far from you, and you will not understand the concept of teamwork. But when you become a leader, everyone in the team is important. No matter where you are leading from. Permit me to take this quote from John C. Maxwell as I begin to, round up from this training. John Maxwell said, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. Your care as a leader is the physical and spiritual motivation that people need to work with you. As a leader, you need people to advise you. And I don't know people who are working with you as a youth leader, as a teenage leader. Certainly there are people that will form your backbone in leadership. We're going to take the 2 key questions again. Remember from the beginning, I told you we are going to come back to the 2 key questions so that by the virtue of what we have learned, we'll be able to answer those questions. The first question is, why do good leaders spend time developing a team? And permit me to answer the question. People want to follow a leader who understands that you can get more done when you work together. When you work with others, you accomplish much more than when you are working alone. Number 2, why should potential leaders serve others? Serving others brings joy as you invest in their lives of others and watch them grow and succeed. I feel so excited when I see young people whom by my leadership example become great people. It brings joy. It makes you feel you are working. And you have people who are gradually understanding your concept of leadership. Finally, we are going to take a life walk before we say the closing prayer. And in the next 2 weeks, you'll be sharing with us what you have done from your life work activity. Think of a problem your school, community, or nation is facing. Brainstorm a solution and the team that you would need to help you achieve it. Come prepared to share with us. Our closing prayer. Lord, thank you for all of the people you have brought into my life. Help me to work on developing positive relationship. Help me to start caring about others more than I care about myself. I want to serve others the way Jesus did. Amen. Thank you for staying for this section. It's been a wonderful time. I'm now open to your questions. You can use the chat box. You can ask as you unmute yourself. We are glad you were part of this training. God bless you.